Whew. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Good Living Podcast. God, I've spent so much time away. Bloody hell. I don't have a proper explanation, really. I know days have been busy, but I cannot say that I have not found 30 or so minutes to just sit and record something for those who were asking, people who are expecting some sort of output. The truth is, I've actually been working behind the scenes, and there's going to be an overload of content before the end of the year. It's just that some of these things now need finishing touches, which I didn't need before when I was recording just like I am now. And these finishing touches have not been done yet because they require some other things, finances and stuff, and skill that I do not have at the moment. So that's what has been causing a delay. But I'm back, right? The old school, I don't mean to say old school, but yeah, the former way. If you've been following my podcast, you know that I've switched hosts and I'm trying to mix it together while I'm recording here with YouTube at the same time. So I have to actually edit the videos before converting to an audio to post. But now I'm just recording my free speech, which is something that's a bit scarce these days. So I'm recording freely. Nothing is going to be edited. There's no picture perfect or audio perfect sound that you're going to hear. So you know what? Things have been going on, and I've been trying to look for something to say, the topic that I was going to talk about, but it's so broad and it's difficult to choose. But one thing that I've experienced lately that made me want to hit record on this particular episode is the disparity between, what I call it disparity, or the difference between what you expect adulthood to be like where you're growing up and then what it actually is. And I think that's the major cause of a lot of trauma and depression or depressed feeling and discomfort when you become an adult. The uncomfortability, the discomfort the discomfort you feel as an adult. Maybe it's magnified in Nigeria because obviously life is harder here than when you're born in Nigeria. They spawn you up like in a game. When you spawn, so it's like they spawn you in difficult mode in difficult mode in this game of life if you're born in Nigeria. God, when Buhari is your president, so God, when Tinubu is contesting to be president still. Well, so I understand it's harder here, but there are certain realizations still that you do not know. Nothing prepares you for that part of adulthood, right? And it comes as a shock. And why do people die as adults? Why do people take their lives? And why are people just generally unhappy? You now see people change in character when you knew them as kids and when they grow up because they've now realized certain things. And sometimes it's disappointing. It's disappointing, to be honest, right? It's disappointing when you grow up and nobody tells you anything regarding the things that you're dealing with now. And then you just automatically get angry at everybody. Some people understand and they're able to just, take it in their stride. But some people are also upset that, I had parents, I had teachers, and they were teaching us all the other stuff that wasn't really necessary, right? Because I've thought to myself, if my teachers would have spent more time teaching me how to manage my money, right? Not just letting your parents say, learn to save, learn to manage. That's all. Like, if you grow up in a middle class or upper middle class home thereabouts, if you're not exactly wealthy, upper middle class lower, you are told to manage your money. You're advised against extravagant spending or impulsive spending and told to save. I know I was. So if those things were doubled down on instead of teaching me, other things that are not important, and I would say things like further maths, right? Because once you're 16 years old, so I would say that would be maybe your that's when you're finishing school even. But you know what you like once you, as a child, even if in your JS3, you know what you like and what subjects would be of greater use to you based on your interests in the future. So you making a child to learn hours and hours of further maths over the course of his secondary school years that he's not going to want, need, or have any use for in the future is like a waste that you would have used to teaching something else that would actually be useful to him in his life in the future or her life in the future. Because now nobody has told you things about... This might sound funny if I'm saying it, but if somebody was there to teach you that, look, there will be heartbreaks in life, right? There will be difficult moments where you say where you'll be told no in applications or things that you're expecting a yes. You're going to fail at a couple of things you expected success in. You're going to have things like betrayal happen to you. But nobody doubled down on these issues. And the thing with adulthood is that there are so many tiny issues. Like, you can't even if they intentionally start teaching us and preparing children for adulthood, you can't complete everything unless you scrap the orthodox school in general, because there are too many tiny things, right? There's different problems. There's the emotional problem, there's physical problem, there's like 100 of them each that you will deal with within, in the course of your lifetime. So if they were more intentional in, scrapping out some unnecessary subjects from school, not unnecessary for some people, because some people want for that matter and they're going to use it in the future in their fields in science or wherever. But for people like me, for example, who learned further maths until SS2, I would consider those 2 hours in a week I learned that thing for like 4 years or 3 years. I would consider them a waste, because now every week for 2 hours I was learning something that I'm not going to ever there is not going to be ever a gun to my head moment where I need further maths to answer a question that saved my life or give me a job or anything at all whatsoever. And the funny thing, even as a child, you have these thoughts. You say, what am I going to need this thing for? I remember, I don't know if you did, but I know I did when I was growing up. When I was learning maths, some subjects, some topics in maths, like sets, right? Like most topics in maths, to be honest with me. Because I was wondering, what do I need this thing for in the real life? I've always looked at life as life, like this is it. Everything is practical. Everything happens in real time, physically. So where do I learn that from? We are Africans, for example, this and that aspect. We are Africans, right? And our original tradition, religion is is traditional religion, right? What people call Ogboni or Juju or witchcraft now. Not exactly, there's like black magic and the dark aspect of it, but there's the spiritual aspect, right? A lot of people will call it superstition now, like we just call it superstition. People don't believe in spirituality or in religion or anything like that. But if we see that in truth, as in I've seen enough. If you're an adult and maybe above 25, 24, 25, and you still don't believe that there is a spiritual realm as real as this physical realm you're in, that some people that you see in your day-to-day activities actually operate on from time to time, then you need to get yourself checked, because there is a spiritual realm, and the things that are done there and sealed there affect the things that happen in the physical realm. And if people were more aware of this growing up, if you're a child, you know that, look, you have to be careful, because there are people who physically they don't have anything, but spiritually they can fuck with your destiny, to be honest, if you're not really spiritually fortified, either in Christianity or some other way. Because it happens is you see somebody who is doing well. Let me give an example, right? Somebody who is like a footballer and he's being signed to a club, he's doing well, and all of a sudden he can't play football. Right, he went there and he started benching somebody, for example, right? Maybe there's a player who is an indigenous of, now with football, you move around and you go to strange places that are not your hometown. And somebody who was indigenous there, you now have to start putting him on the bench, affecting his career, but and then you're playing and you're doing well. There are certain people who have mothers who care for them, and who have mothers who are into these spiritual things. And for the love of your son and his career, you say, you know what, this other guy is going to have something that is going to make him sit on the bench as well, and then have my son play. And they jazz the guy. That kind of thing happens, right? And in different, whether it's in this kind of football or in work, in different aspects, there's a spiritual realm. And if you knew that growing up, you would make better decisions, I think. Another thing they don't prepare you for is the movement of money. They don't tell you that, look, school obviously is a business on its own for countries. It's a business. If you don't know, school itself is a business for any country. It's like a source of income, right? Because there's already set down rules. Nobody's inventing any new thing to teach you in secondary school. It's already curriculum. It's shared. Almost every country is learning the same exact thing at certain levels of education, except in the specialized levels. So they could collect this information and then they're just having you pay so that they will teach you the same thing that I have the curriculum. I can literally Google it and teach my child at home. But because you're going to give that child who paid huge amounts of money just to go to an institution to get a paper that would now be useful in future. It's just that paper that will be useful in future. The knowledge is not really useful. It's the paper you use so you can get a job, and you can begin to pay bills, and so that's what they want you. But when you look at it, is that what you want? Even as a child, they ask you, what do you want? I mean, asking a child what he wants might be too much or confusing for them. But you paint two lives, right? Where you go to work every day in the morning, come back in the evening, collect a salary, or where you have freedom to do whatever you want, and there are people working for you, and you can travel, and you have money, you have houses in different countries, and there's really no restriction for you. Which life would you think any child of any age or origin would prefer? The latter, obviously. But they tell you that the perfect life you're going to get it by going to school and getting good grades. And it's bullshit, but they will not tell you. But I will tell you. And I'm cursing here, so you might not even be able to play this for children, but at least you can filter it down and then tell your younger ones that, look, I'm not saying don't be serious with school, but be more serious with life, right? If you're in school, make friends, make connections with people. I told myself that even if I can't afford it, which I know I will, obviously, but in the future, if my child has to go to any school, he will go to the best one. Yeah, I'm going to give huge money to the system for education for my child, but not because I want them to teach my child high quality education. It's not because of the school, it's because of the people who are going to be in that school. So if my child can go to a school where there are billionaires children, and I'm not a billionaire, then he can make friends and he can have network and connections with people who would eventually help him in the future. Because I've seen that happen, play out time and time again in my life and in other people's lives. So that's something. Another thing is that you grow up. I've seen, especially as a man, right? The realizations tend to offend you because you had parents growing up, you had teachers, and you now grow up and realize that life is actually not fair. It's difficult. It's different for you, and you don't realize this thing by anybody telling you. If you're lucky, you will find somebody who will tell you. But if you're not, you realize that by yourself. It will be shocking. It's when you speak to older people, you realize, yo, we all went through this thing, all right? So suck it up and move on with life. But most times, you don't even know. Nobody tells you. Oh, God. I'm trying to give an example. So the example I'm going to give is conspiracy, for example. You know, when you grow up, you looked at everybody in the perspective of what you were receiving. Let me explain this. When you grow up here, your uncle was your uncle. He according to you, all he did was maybe take care of his family and then come to see your father, and you people go to their house and play. He goes to work, comes back home, and that's his life. According to you, your father's life is go to work, come back home, take care of your mom, take care of all of you, spend some time with you, beat you, stuff like that. So you had your own perspective going on. You didn't think that there are a lot of sinister things that could be going on in the background. Or let's say, for example, your landlord is your landlord. He collects rent from your father. His children are the neighbors you play with. But then you grow up and you realize, the landlord didn't own the house, and the money was collected from people was like stolen money, basically. So now your dad has not paid rent for 10 years, and the real owner has to tell him to pack out. This is a hypothetical situation. I'm just trying to make it up as I go. But there are certain realities, truths that hit you hard. Or maybe you see your uncle as your uncle, like I was saying, and then you didn't realize that, he was actually beating the fuck out of his wife, right? Or maybe your uncle's wife died. Your uncle's wife died, and as a child, you say it was unfortunate, it was an accident, You grew up and then you realize, your uncle beat the shit out of his wife until she actually passed out, and then they rushed out to her until she couldn't make it. These things, you grow up and you find them out, and you're so fucking disappointed because this is real life, right? And then at a certain stage of your life, I don't know about other people, but maybe between 17, 18, 19, these kind of realities about things that have passed and the ones that are now happening in front of you in real time, these atrocities, basically, in your opinion, as it would be so reoccurring that you would wonder if the world is ending. But no, that's not what it means. You are just opening your eyes. You're just waking up. All right? And it's disappointing. And it's annoying because, there's no clue. But you can't tell the child, uncle, this is beating his wife. How do you... Life is harsh, right? How do you prepare somebody for those kind of realizations? Another thing you're not prepared for, but I wish or hope that they would have at least told us, because talk is cheap. When they tell you, what, this world is going to end, there'll be a nuclear war, and that nuclear attack, everywhere in the world will be contaminated, the air will be contaminated, almost everybody will die. You have to be underground before you can survive. There'll be no food, there'll be no water. Now I'm saying it is horrible. Imagining it is horrible, but it's not that horrible because right now I'm breathing good air. I have internet on my phone and I'm recording this and I'm going to put it out. And this is just what I'm hearing, right? So it's not that bad. You're not going to damage me if you tell me this. So if you told somebody who is like a teenager, maybe let's say somebody who is 14, 15, tell them that, in adulthood, the problems are different. And I'd like to explain this to my son or daughter because so they can be prepared. When you're a child, the problems you can face is, my father bought me this toy and I've lost it. He might ask me for it and then he might beat me. To you, that's a big deal. But if you notice as a child, you have one problem at a time, right? So this week, it might be that as a child, I used to always lose things. They'll buy me this and I don't know where it is anymore. They'll buy me, I don't know where it is anymore. So my problem would be, I've lost this one now. I fought in school, so my teacher have to tell my dad, how do I, one at a time. I don't have only anytime I had 2 problems at a time, it was mind blowing for me, and I can't remember. There were not too many times like that. If there was any time like that at all, safe. So that's how young person's life is, and nothing tells you or prepares you for the fact that you're going to now grow up, and at a certain point in your life, you have one problem, and you're struggling to solve that one, but it's the rate at which your problems are coming is you solve one, but 2 more come. You solve one, then 2 more come. So it just keeps piling up slowly. For example, you have a money problem, which is universal, right? Maybe you're trying to raise your school fees for yourself because your family is not really buoyant now. So you have younger ones and they have to pay their school fees. So you have to now try to raise the school fees for yourself. So you're looking for a job or something to raise that money. And while that is happening, you have a problem where your boyfriend is trying to break up with you, right? Boyfriend is leaving you. And while that one is happening, your friend is getting married. So you're a very good friend. And so the Ashebi mode is going to cost money. And so that one is there. So while this one is happening, your result just came out now. And you have 2 carryovers that you have to now think of how you're going to write. And remember, the boyfriend issue is heartbreak. It's not as if it's a problem you have to solve. It's time that it takes to get over and get through that. That one has broken up with you. You are feeling dejected with that. But there's another heartbreak coming with your result. And then when you now go home and look at the family situation also, you are still dejected from there. And boom, your data is finished every once in a while that you have to. That's a small problem that you can come and solve it to come and go. You solve it to come and go. So that one is there. But you see that this is just a few that I can just get off the top of my head. But there are many problems that people are actually dealing with. You might have a huge family issue to settle. That's one thing. All right. There might be a court case in the middle of all of this somewhere with your father and his land in the village. All right. You might have a brother who is a cultist that is hiding now because you're trying to shoot the guy. So, and this is what adulthood is constantly, as in, you don't escape it unless you die. So, this is what adulthood, and nobody tells you, nobody prepares you. You just come in and you meet it, and it's whoa, this is coming, it's problem. Wow, it's overwhelming. Oh, another one. And when people kill themselves, then it becomes too much. I think that's the weak, easy way out, and it's not a way that anybody should go because at the end of the day, in between all of these problems, there are goodies in adulthood, right? Because as a child, you get to play and you admire adults, and if you would only accept that, okay, now I'm an adult, and as I was a child and these problems I used to face as a child, like losing my stuff, was a big deal to me. I'm an adult now. I'm not a child anymore. So the play I used to enjoy as a child, I have the play I'm enjoying now as an adult, right? I can do. There's alcohol. Okay, no. Yeah, but you got what I'm saying. There are things that you can now. I mean, this is not a healthy way to say, but you can. Okay, let's say you can play football, right? And you can chill out with your friends. You can go clubbing. It's a fun activity, For some people, clubbing is a fun activity. You can go for a chill out. You can go to shows and comedy shows, for example, and understand all the humor. Because I remember one thing I had when I was little. I would watch comedy shows with adults, and they would be laughing at so many of those jokes. And I'd laugh at the ones I understand. But there are so many others they would laugh at that I had no fucking clue what they were talking about. And I would ask, what are you talking about? They say, you don't understand. I remember asking one of my uncles in DD, what does this guy, I think it was a basket mouth joke or hook. I think, whether basket mouth or, I was going to say 50 Cent, what's wrong with me? Basket mouth or, who's one of these old guys there doing I Go Die or Okay Bakassi. I think it's Okay Bakassi. And that was the thing, he was laughing. I was like, it was just me and him in the sitting room then. I must have been like maybe 8 years old or 7 or something like that. And he just kept laughing. And he was asking, what he didn't answer me. But I went back and watched that clip a few years ago, and I was laughing too because there's a lot of like sexual related jokes there. So yeah, there was no fucking way I would have understood, because did I even at that point I didn't even know that to have sex. I remember when I realized that to have sex something has to enter something else. I thought it was like your bellies you use. But that's a childhood innocence. So I'm saying when you grow up, there's actually fun things as well that you can embrace and use to offset some of the trauma. And then at the end of the day, your aim should be just making money. Because I think if you have enough money, a lot of your problems will be cancelled out. And money does bring a reasonable degree of happiness. It does. So if you use your adulthood and try to like acquire money and make a lot of your money problems non-existent, then you can begin to appreciate all the other parts of adulthood that makes your life easier and happier to live. But we should still remember that children should be somehow, in any way, shape or form that you can, prepare them for adulthood. Tell them, look, this is life, and as you grow older, it gets harder, but you get stronger as well to deal with that hardship. But get prepared for it, because you are going to lose friends. You are going to deal with things they call betrayal, because now as a child you only deal with betrayal in books, and you only hear about it in stories they read to you in school, but you don't actually feel the full extent of proper betrayal. Not the one that your friend steals your pen and gives it to another girl that you don't like, because that's betrayal as well. But when you deep it, it doesn't just go as far as it goes when you are in a real life situation where maybe your friend or your boyfriend is sleeping with your best friend, that kind of thing. It's mad. So tell children, look, it gets worse, but you get stronger, so you deal with it. But be prepared mentally. Make your children mental monsters. Make them strong. Make them ready. All right. You can't make anybody ready. I think I'm going to leave this whole recording with this talk here. You can't make anybody ready, right? But you can make them prepared. You can never be ready, because for you to truly know if you are ready is when you see the task, is when you experience the task. So nobody is ready. But what you can do is prepare. You can be prepared. You can get your children prepared for adulthood by teaching them about how to manage money, about how life plays out in most cases. When you look at, if you're living and based on the circumstances the child is coming up in or growing up in, you say, okay, this is what you're going to expect as you're growing up, based on the circumstances that child is in. You can advise them appropriately. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Good Living Podcast. I appreciate everybody who has subscribed to the YouTube channel, who always tunes into this. Ciao, have a nice day.